nobody still talks about that. Many of them still in this movement. You understand what I'm saying? To kill the civic side of this movement, so people can think it's just another black religious Islamic sect. You get? That was their mission, to establish that fake reality, not reality, but that fake appearance of reality, that semblance, that color to the people, which is the color that most people have of the Moorish movement now. And anyone says that's not true is a liar, because that's the concept that people have of this movement. Until we came out and started reaching out to them while everybody else was being silent, condemning us for doing it too. And we put literature out there to change their concept so they could have something to reference to. You understand? Just like the prophet said do. Exactly what the prophet said do. People mad at us, still mad at us for it. I don't care. Because I'm not in it for them. I got babies. And they got babies. And they got babies, and the babies that's still in the womb. And I ain't having it. And I'm a soldier. I came as a defender when it was wrong. That's why I do what I do. I'm telling you bluntly. And I ain't for you.
Mufti force of the conscious game. Superstars won't spend all those G's just a supercar. I'd rather put the funds to Mufti force guns. Dr. Sebi remedy in truck skids and tons. Signing bonus, give to Gabriel or Ego or UMIA. Let more replace Nico. I'm not the face watcher or friend beggar. I'm not the type to take back what I tell ya. Tight pants and dry clothes. I want a Rockefeller. Black Hawk down, a fly rapper and snap propellers. Airspace in these bars are no flow zones. I heard R&B singers are homo drones. I heard that from a gay rapper dressing so thug. G's can't pass butt cheeks, dressing so snug like a snuggle bear, showing me your underwear. Rapper Inquisition make rappers run from fear of being shown up. You already thrown up, punchlines and hooks leave their face swole up. Or like the triad, if you don't pay what's owed up. Rapper Inquisition, horror flick, the lips sewn up. Can't go one-on-one for IHF zone up. Using the fiat and deals, pumping their clones up. Making more rap clones like iRobot. Short circuit the whole industry of rap robots. That what's boinking. Working with the ones oinking. Hip-hop's hurting IHF, the vocal ointment. Flow like a break waves and b-boy girl dancers. Spit like pain of old school rappers. Fiend for the true hip-hop scratching like a producer. MC OGs with content that you used to. Fiending for true hip-hop scratching like a producer. MC OGs with content that you used to.
They want make me life hard like pavement. Me no afraid to make my statement. Babylon no one with the mental and physical enslavement. Think right now if we all live like cavemen. How much for the dark, how much now go make it. The righteous replace them, the more side erase them. Discrimination, plaguing with nation. Unity is strength, we weak with separation. Jail houses meant to deplete elevation. Wisdom visit on the deep meditation. All you want to see on the sleep medication. Herbs are the healing of the nation. Tell them police, they that stop chase, man, especially since we not the phone no place that's flirt of the truth. Me know say you can't take that. See them chat, yeah, this rasta, nah, take back, you don't know.
Couldn't grasp half of the shit that we've been through. These clip ass niggas making comments on YouTube. TorontoRappers.com talking about you too. Generation switch, shouldn't have to show you. Big man, grow bitch, don't worry about the old school. Haven't seen a man you used to see before. Cause certain man don't want the face see no more. Get off our dicks, your pussies is hard. Tendencies up a bitch, you should learn to be a more. And while you're hating, we'll keep repping T.O. and celebrating, cause enough soldiers soon home. We penetrating, got the locks and the codes. So do your own time, bro. We alright. Everybody on their own ground, but we still tight. It's just a miscommunication, which brothers don't fight. You need an occupation, or I forgot you tight. Shit about other man, cause you covered their life. But your business you should mind though, cause we work nights. And you ain't hard to find what's darkness come to light. And I don't care, you can take my flesh life here. I manifest, and I come back in your nightmares. And I kill you there, I've been traveling for light years. I can't die, but they won't see you horny or you won't wake up. Need to call the coroner, another wake up. Your boys will be corona, cause they slept. Reminiscing while the morning saying what the. Just yesterday we was vlogging with each other. Shouldn't I? With just another brother and the rest of the camp too. decades straight, we've been making a stamp. Yay, I know you say you don't even know me. I make it clear I'm a Flemodon OG. Year to year, made stacks off the emojis from the block to the bars. I'm known we between the rats and the stars. I played low-key looking down, and it's far at the top, it's getting lonely.
Of course, the ages that exist, whether or not it's informed by my lips, labeled angelic or devilish, based in the view to behold against the older we get. Our perspectives and action change regardless, lines drawn between those that intend to hinder gain. Similar, not the same, few put out the seat, the left to complain. The reference frame change, while still thinking life is a game. While we train, this battlefield, knowing when comic kicks is real. My mental plus my tempo must be ready to switch from hurt to heal. It's true to reveal similarities since they be following orders accordingly from trust to destiny. So mercy's unnecessary. Murder honorably most enemy. And as long as common mode exists, an opposition has to be. Contestment up. Contestment up. Yeah. Contest. I flatten your career, make a whack rap. Too many whack rappers out there. This one's for y'all, yo. Simon, I flatten your career, make a whack rapper disappear. Grab you by your shirt back and kick your ass out of here. Bystanders run for cover, cause I'm back to reap havoc. Remember me? That could kill them all and make them die tragic. Turn the opposition, cock it back and let them have it. Let them vanish like a magician and raps for magic. And like poof, you're gone. With the proof I'm on. To all your non-substance rappers, if you want, respond. Give y'all a second, but I recognize your weapon. Some metrosexual shit, that's not the way that I'm stepping. I studied last year's testing, skim the cheat sheets. So test me out, kill commercial rap like dead meat. If you don't know, I'm Simon Phoenix and I deadbeat. Hung commercial rap on front page, I can't be discreet. Lyrically dumpy, leaving bodies in tall heaps. No mortal can walk like I do, now bow and kiss my feet. Call me sire, throw out your skinny jeans and retire. Back you up against the wall with hail or gunfire. Sharp talent, shred your skins and shatter your bones. Stay out of the kitchen, better yet, drop the microphone. Steadily prepping better recipes. I rap till the end, but rap won't be the death of me. Let a shower posse when I catch ya. I'll wet ya, then blow you up the crime scene. All that's left is a stretcher. So test me now, make your fans convert. Have them wearing fatigues and burning tight pink ass shirts. Have them dashing out the flashy clothes like I'm not trying. Million pipe bombs, labeled the wannabe rap icon. Check me later, I'm gone. Thought I died, but I respond. My words are bondable, but when I speak, don't respond. I drown shallow-minded MCs in a shallow pond. Mobilize a million men to march like I'm Farrakhan. But I'm more like Malcolm and my brother is son Falcon. Chasing crazy ball heads out of our town after I scalp them. Get up more than you can chew, motherfuckers. Come test me now. So test me now. So test me now.
It's still IHF, still ill hunting feds. The type to leave a body guy leaking from his head. Dirty like the naps in my head. The enemy still want me dead, but mentally I cause their bodies to combust spontaneously. I be that ghetto dentist, removing chest cavities with my psychopathic surgery. My incision won't be circular, more like linear. My network stop arising, can you still hear me clear? No more text messages, only mental mind blast to my comrades. Traders never overstand the task. Rather floss system type, and some money in the head. Big chains and rims spinning. My stone hands will leave your face smashed and ears ringing. I'ma get it soon beginning, so there's no time for sinning. When I finally kill the devil, I'ma hear these angels singing. Such a beautiful song.
Moorish World TV, huh? More like Asian World TV, you dig? Tired of all these Asian provocateurs slamming the rights. I call all y'all out. We call all y'all out. Y'all out there. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. Better watch it, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best believe they coming with that folly taking you under. I smell like Asian. You smell like Asian. I smell like Asian. Yeah. Better watch it, boy. Like them sellouts lurking in the corner. Best believe they coming with that folly taking you under. It's a shame, man. You dirty Moors, man. Trying to equate legalese to law, man. How we copy as you can be. But it ain't no stopping the movement, cause I got the front seat. Better get your mind right. Real more than about the high life. Real more than about the hype. Y'all just looking for the limelight. If you were really studying, you would know who is who and recognize this is more. They really think you got this discovered. Grab y'all ladies for grace. Can you believe it? Grace. Yeah, I know this for sure. I smell an agent. You smell an agent. I smell an agent. Yeah. Better watch it, boy. Might be sellouts lurking in the corner. Best believe they coming with that folly taking you under. I smell an agent. You smell an agent. I smell an agent. Yeah. Better watch it, boy. Might be sellouts lurking in the corner. Best believe they coming with that folly taking you under.
It's a shame, man. These dirty Moors, man. Watching all you dirties through the hairs that's crossed, man. Know the true Ali and Gandhi met with burn across, man. We solved the Negro problem with the Circle 7 call ran. Young Pharaoh prostitutes for the Moorish foreign substitutes. Using Sarah's suit and mascot for their SETI institutes. Speaking lies, Mormons black is really from some Greek guys. Masonry is ancient Egypt, watch me speaking sleep spies. Wearing arms, wearing fences, singing these tunes to you. F08 Sarah, Elena, they couldn't lose to you. All Negro conscious movies, where were you at years ago? While we were studying occult and metaphysical, bet not around. Now you slander, you bums of the town. Spellbound, you dirty Moors from a Washita burial mound. Send you to the background, Moors are in the front ground. Ready to defend the teachers, anywhere is the battleground. Stay minority and not mature.
Yeah. You know how we seek that higher knowledge. Only the ignorant can relate. You just kill them with love instead of hate. That's what it's about.
We are Moors.
Yeah. You know how we seek that higher knowledge. Only the ignorant can relate. You just kill them with love instead of hate. That's what it's about.
We are Moors.
Shout out to the grass shake. Untouchables, Iron shake.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snap back, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and move these for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave named Chris might have a Moor head. We are Moors.
20 Moors rockin', you could call them Moroccans. Racial West adepts, let's get it poppin'. Got a problem with my sheep? Got a problem with me. I be on the front line rolling 23 deep. I be studying for hours, 7 days a week, working on my higher self, cause the devil don't sleep. Big ups to Cujo L, that's the Iron Sheep. 7's up, facing the east, praising Allah. Astrology, cosmology, that's the real law. I slow roast ya, master the flame like Zoe Roaster. The rise of the new Moors, old heads move over. That Kundalini energy rising up like a cobra. This is training day, mount up with real soldiers. Elevate beyond the hate and claim your lost estate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snap back, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said?
Rockin' head, just a turban, no affairs. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and move these for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name Chris might have a more head. Stop talking crazy. You can't be everything but Moors. That's like willing to stay minority and not mature. Therefore, Tosh to be great taught the world don't respect you. However, since you wanna be it, you go down when they fall. They, the ones you call government, that's really a corpse. Black man means funeral director. Should make sense, of course. Music is the food and the message, the medicine. Mumble food is poison. I'm with the golden era veterans like Mark D. Condolences, QB, RIP Prodigy, who studied the history of the Moors and etymology. You missed the course of the headband, disguised as a bandana. Moorish MC, the real Moroccan, not a French Montana. Kendrick Lamar, you Sarai, trust me, Hebrew's a language. Lupe put Moors in his video, made the point vantage. Yassine Bey knows Sabay, Bey knows Moorish master MC. Frupan Bey and Daddy IU are on some Moorish degrees. Sprague and Bojuno, they even killed Peter because of Macintosh. Still visit the couple planets, hip-hop astronauts. Milky Way flow, rays of tassels, blind unbelievers. To higher than other senses, they still pick up the frequency. Pick your addiction, truth will still make itself known. To go platinum now, you gotta give up more plus your soul. Watch Professor build pyramids, I watch Drink Jam steady. Cause Nori said you are on a track, so call me Petty. Also Martin Moore exec produced the War Report album. Aboriginal Super Cat taught me how to hang and scalp them. Operation Lockdown, video feathers like I said to do. Initiate invasions, activate outdoors every scoop. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and move these for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name Chris might have a more head. We are Moors. We are Moors. Heard what I said? We are Moors. Heard what I said? Heard what I said? Heard what I said? We are Moors. We are Moors.
Doc, thank you very much for your time. It's been 2 years since the erection of Gandhi's statue, and we know you are one of the individuals who spoke vociferously against the erection of this statue. Can we pick your thoughts on why you were you were against the erection of the facility?
Okay. Before I get started, I would like to say that this is a collective effort. Even as I've been standing here, no less than 10, 20 people have been saying, congratulations, we're so happy it's gone. And our colleagues, Professor Akosi Adomako Ampofo, Dr. Pierre Chia, Nanakuya, and Yudoho, just so many, colleagues who really join in the effort. But really, the over 2,000 people who signed the petition, that all of this is really for them. Now, I opposed the petition because I was already familiar with Gandhi and who he was. And as a matter of fact, I was driving right along this road behind us, and I saw the statue. I said, who is this? And I looked and I saw it's Gandhi. And I said, people must not know who this man is. And I took some photos, and then I sent an email to all staff here at the University of Ghana, along with about 70 of his most racist quotes. Not a few, but like about 77 of his most racist quotes to everyone on campus. Now, the reaction from most people was we had no idea. We saw the movie. We thought this was a great guy. The movie, which was sponsored by the Indian government as a piece of propaganda, but that's a sidebar. But most people had no idea, much less had they researched and read. Now, the complete works of Mahatma Gandhi, or as we prefer, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, is out there. Everything that he has ever written is all together in, I want to say, 99 volumes thereabout. So you can go through letters that he's written, so forth and so on, and things that he's written in Hindi, in Gujarati. And this is really the issue, that there were so many people who thought he was so great because they can't read Hindi. They can't read Gujarati. If Dr. Martin Luther King could read it, or Nelson Mandela could read it, or Kwame Nkrumah could read it, they would have had a vastly different picture. But now, for us as researchers, I'm a research coordinator at the Institute of African Studies, Language, Literature, and Drama. So I've read about Gandhi, and my first time hearing about it, historian Dr. John Henrik Clarke, he said that Mahatma Gandhi was a fraud and a faker. I heard this back in the early 90s, like 92 thereabout. I said, wow, I wonder where he's coming from with this.
Right. Reference point. Just so you don't forget. His reference point is John Henrik Clarke. Right. It's the first thing with this. Because remember, he already said, we've been known that Gandhi was quote unquote racist. Nobody giving him no honors. Right. Ain't no big deal. But reference point. John Henrik Clarke. Put him on to some Gandhi is whatever. Now, and he went with it. 100. No questions asked. Inspire him to the point that he's university researcher and all of that. You know what I mean? Big check mark. Good reference point. Because those who are students of John Henrik Clarke know that when he started talking, he didn't play sides and all that stuff. Just like he talked about negativity of Christianity, he talked about it about in Islam, talked about the negativity and even our own stuff. But it's real interesting that he presented at a lecture. I think it was him and a couple other people on it. And he's presenting that nationality is really what it's about. This is about nationhood. In the all and be all, forget all the lectures and all that stuff that I put out. Stop playing around that you're black. Stop playing around that you're colored and you're Negroes. It's all about nationality. So that's just in addition to his reference point that he went with 100. So if he went with that 100, then okay, we're telling you, John Henrik Clarke also taught you the same lessons that Noble Drew Ali taught you, that you're not Negro, black, colored. And it doesn't just stop with those, it means all the misnomers, not just those three. All the misnomers. There's none that you could claim if you can't claim those three, because they're a fraud. John Henrik Clarke taught that. So we're taking our check mark for our reference point for John Henrik Clarke. Forget that they got rid of some Gandhi statue, because like we said, John Henrik Clarke been taught us that he has no need to get honors from our community. Why? Because John Henrik Clarke's a historian. So he studied it, just like this brother studied it, found the same stuff, there ain't no big deal. But That's how docile they have our people. Some guy that they didn't know about, take down his statue, and you get honors. Because why? They're playing the race game. Somebody's racist against whatever, when all this is about nationality and birthrights. Quote unquote, Gandhi wasn't wrong, because he was talking to niggers and black people and the people who are about nothing. The same people that you talk about that are in the street shooting people or whatever, or people who are doing underground work, regardless what culture it is. Everybody has that element in their culture, but we're tied in with our element that does BS because we don't want to separate ourselves by having a nationality, which comes with certain principles, which would have you live a particular way. It's not because of race. They should be taking down those statues. Because he wasn't lying. He was talking just like how the KKK is talking. And then these guys are mad. You can't do that here, racist. What do you mean racist? They're not racist. You have no nationality. So nothing called rights applies to you. Zero. Nothing called rights applies. What applies to you is, oh yeah, just pet his head. Just pet his head, give him some honors, and let him just sit down. Oh, he's getting up. Oh, just pet his head. Find something. Just find anything. Oh yeah, make them feel like they're getting something. Pet his head. Pet his head. Don't worry. You don't have to do much for the Negro. Because without a nationality, nothing applies to you. Them taking down a statue means nothing. What do you mean? You can't say that it means nothing. How are you going to say it means nothing? Because I was breaking this down even with my dad today. That this is, I'm not a descendant of Africans. Like I'm not from a continent. I'm not from a continent. And nobody on that continent is from that continent. They never say that they're from that continent. This is directly the game. And again, when we check right? This is December 2018. There's not no something happened because footage is grainy. It looks like this is something. They just got this. No, but racist stuff still going on. What's really the problem here? Because people don't know themselves. Noble Ali told all these people, regardless of wherever they were at in the world, because he's a universal prophet, he told these people, stop playing around with the brand names. Give back Christianity to the Europeans. People are going to tell me, well, you should rep Africa because that's your culture and that's your whatever. Okay, well, if Africa has overtaken Latin America for the highest Christian population in the world, you hear what I'm talking? You hear what I'm telling you right now? I'm not no damn African because I'm not Christian. Africans are Christians. It's right there. You go check. So if Africa, which is supposed to be where all the black guys say that they come from and all that, so all right, fine, we're going with you. That's where you're from. And that means you're Christian. You're not some back to Africa or whatever. That's why Noble Ali told us F that too. Go back where? They're Christian over there. How is quote unquote African countries that's supposed to have their own culture, because they're the founders of the civilization of the and all the stuff that they're the founders of, and they're 95 point whatever Christian, and you're gonna say, oh yeah, because some Europeans came there and then the Europeans whatever. Stop the BS. Because Gaddafi already showed you what was up. Because so they had stuff locked. They know Europeans nothing. Comes back to the same stuff all the time, the sellouts. You want to play that they don't exist. Play the game with you. The game that you come from some continent, or that you're some color, or that you're some whatever. And the last name that we fell as all around the world is Moors. The Moor just went to the Philippines. And the Moor is over there seeing Moors. You're not seeing no people that we see when they show us some stuff on TV or whatever. He's seeing Moors. Mind blown. Just because. That's when you know yourself what happens. You have to know yourself though. You can't play like you know yourself. And honest to the people who, from quote unquote African countries that know that they're Nigerian or Ghanaian or Senegalese or Ethiopian or whatever. They're not playing around like they're African. What the hell is that? They always want to try to connect you to the fraud. And we go with it because of some stuff, you know, scratching our stomach. Oh yeah, it feels so good. Let's just go with this because this is so good. When you're just going into your enslavement like a dummy. Nobuju Ali presented everything to us. For us not to be, Africa is the highest Christian population. Just really think about that right now. This is about, all throughout history, this is about the Christians versus the quote-unquote heathens, the infidels. The Barbary pirates coming down and they're doing the whatever. They're fighting against that and they have their gods helping them. That. They know Europeans is the head of that. Some freaking dark-skinned people. Highest Christians. Telling me that we're that. I'd rather be what Nobuju Ali brought than be African. Common sense will tell me it's probably not wise to be African if I'm claiming I'm the black guy or the whatever. And I'm against the KKK and I'm against all the and Trump and but which is all Christian stuff. But you're claiming to be the highest percentage of Christian population. That sounds like hypocrisy. That sounds like that's why the world doesn't respect black people and Negroes and Africans and whoever else that they claim that they are. Because they keep abandoning their own stuff for some foreigner stuff. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was just saying that was a good one. That's exactly what it is. They complain about Trump, but then want to do that back to Africa stuff. And like you said, that's Christian. But you going against Trump, which is all the Christian platform, but then you want to do to go back to Africa, and all of that's Christian. And like we've been learning too from our seer, all of those is English names. You want to go back to a place where all of their names are English names. Congo, that's an English name, an English woman. Nigeria, that's an English name. All of those places, they
those are English names in it's Christian territory, and that's where people want to go. Like that's like crazy. That's why, like you said too, people laughing at these so-called black people because it's like you guys are just doing a bunch of yelling and don't even know what nothing is. Just yelling, confused, but doing a lot of yelling. You know what I mean? Like you're doing a lot of yelling, anger, but don't know anything. You want to go back to a place where you're not even from. You guys are all from here, but playing this go back to Africa movement. But again, too, we already know that y'all know that y'all not from there. It's just that the games that your leader guys are playing, selling you guys out to make the people who are docile and not knowing want to stay and want to go over there. But all of these so-called Black Boule, Freemasons, whatever, they all know. And that's the ones who's promoting the Go Back to Africa movement and these civil rights games, which is unconstitutional. It's not. It's us. You know, Europeans are not going out there marching and picking and talking about our civil rights were denied. It's so-called Boule, free Black Blue Masons, Black Boule Masons or whatever, that is promoting all of this fraudulent stuff. We keep thinking it's the European when it's really our own, always been our own. Never changed. Always been Moors going against Moors. It's never changed. We keep thinking it's European, and it really is our own the whole time. Making you want to go back to Africa, promoting go back to the motherland stuff. That's all crap. That's fraud. That's a Boule, Freemason, black stuff that they've been promoting. Because we're from here. We're from here. And if we want to do it anciently, the whole world is ours. So why are they trying to make you go back to this one little area? Which is part of a continent, which is a bunch of English names. It's just adding on to what you were saying, Grancy, because it is that. It's exactly that. They're mad at Trump, which is Christian. That whole platform, all of them are Christian. Like Trump told you, like he wants to, he promotes Christianity. He's a Christian. What happened to Christianity and stuff like that? And they're dissing Trump, but they want to go back to Africa, which is all Christian. Majority of the Christians in the world are in Africa, quote unquote Africa. But that's where they want to go. But because they think they conscious and stuff down there, they're in tune with the nature and they're going back to their ancestors. No, them people are practicing Christianity, Constantinian worship. They're not even doing the true Christ anointing at the point of the libation. They're not doing any of that. They Constantinians. And then when they say, "Oh, that's because like you was going in on," or they like to blame it on the colonists. Well, we were colonized here. People here, we know we Moors. We know that that's colonist tactics, and we say that we're not part of that. So why aren't they doing that down there? It just seems like we keep it. Our people sell out worldwide. Not just here.
Yep.
Our people sell out worldwide. And then it's just adding on to what the grand sheet was saying. These people running away from Christian platform foundation, which is here with the Trump administrative whatever stuff, but then want to go back to Africa, which is all Christian. Like it's just like a bunch of craziness. Like I think it was Brother Mariano when he said, no, it was nature. Nature was saying how it's like a gorilla in court talking about he got gorilla rights. You guys are just in there just talking like you seem crazy.
this so-called blacks, African American, they look asinine, talking like they want to go back to Africa, calling themselves clans, 2 continents, and playing this racism, fraudulent game, you know, playing victim role. We already went over that.
Yeah.
Because we all know the Moors are the slave masters, and they want to play like they're the slaves, and they're in the victim role. You know, we've been 400 years of slavery. That's a lie. The math don't even add up. We would have get the anniversary. We would have been freed. What was that, last year or something like that? That would have been 400 years or something like that. If we did it, you know, slavery started in 1600, the year 2000. That was, you know, you would have just been getting out of slavery. So how could it be 400 years? Unless we're saying the mental slavery, which is worse than the physical.
Yep. And again, Drew Ali came to said that he came to free us from mental slavery.
Yeah.
Because that's really what the problem is. The problem is not that we don't have enough finance, because everybody has the best nails and hair. And they have the real hair. Remember, they got their how much ever percent to give to the church because they're Christian. And church is looking pretty good right now. Church not even looking like they're struggling. You know, this is not any type of slight on them pulling down the statue. Yeah, pull down the goddamn statue. But if you're going to pull down the statue, why don't you also pull down the slave forts in Ghana and Senegal and all these other places that got slave forts? Why are you not tearing those down? Kind of interesting. You pick and choose what you want to tear down. That's racist toward you. You tear down the Gandhi statue, but you're going to go visit some slave fort. You're not going to tear that down, though. You're going to go in there and stand on all the feces that your ancestors left there because they didn't clean there. And everybody's coming in there just standing in feces, just waiting for the next ship or whatever. Nobody's not getting no foot diseases or nothing like that. They're just walking on, then they're just walking off the ship, and then they're just going and picking cotton. They ain't getting no tests or nothing like that. They're just off the boat, go in the field. Go on the auction block. Really? You just were laying in feces, right? You were just laying in feces in a slave fort, right? You're sleeping in feces because so much feces and they didn't clean it and all that stuff. So you're just sitting in there. You're just sitting in shit, right? And then you get up. They don't have any hose and stuff to hose you down or nothing like that. They're gonna take you with some other people who just, you know what I mean, just laid in shit or whatever. And then they're gonna put you on a boat. And then on the boat, where there's no water that nobody could drink, you're going across the Atlantic Ocean. And then you're getting off the boat because remember you did after you got on the ship with all the shit on you, you then had to shit on the trip all the way over the Atlantic Ocean, right? And then you got off the ship now, and they still don't have any hose. They ain't hose you down or nothing like that. And they just put some clothes on you and send you in the field and then put you on the auction block. And then they play some games like, oh yeah, you're covered in shit, but they're looking in your mouth, checking your teeth and stuff like that. They're checking your eyes to see if something. You just came out of a shithole? Really? That's your story? That's your story? Please. So don't even look at anything like we're dissing. Oh yeah, tear down the damn statue. Don't get it twisted, but also tear down all those slave forts if you're going to be tearing down stuff. Why are you going to keep the slave forts there? Why you tear down all those Christian crosses? How about tear those down? Because you already know what those do to our people. If you're going to tear down some Gandhi statue, then you know what the cross did to our people. Ask Yahshua. He knows. He knows what the cross did to our people. Ask Yahshua. I bet you he tell you. Jesus knows what the cross did to our people. But you don't tear those down. Oh yeah, the crosses could chill, you know. They're serving a purpose for the, yeah. And Drew Ali said, give it back. Give back the European ways that you know nothing of. But you don't want to do that. You want to tear down some Gandhi and keep up the Christian stuff. But you know, honors for tearing down the statue. Don't get it messed up.
So I started reading about it. I started reading about the plight of the Untouchables. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who wrote the book, What Congress and Gandhi Have Done to the Untouchables. So once you...
Oh, and then don't forget. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I didn't say nothing. I didn't say anything.
Okay. Remember that the Untouchables were the Moors or the darkskins that they wouldn't even let them breathe on the temple.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what they did to those Moors. You want to talk about subjugation, and you're mad what some European did, but you could go to the store and you could do whatever. Okay, how about these guys that got it by their own? Again, remember, Gandhi's the one who put that on them. Remember, John Hancock already told us, and we already know all this. We're just bringing this with the Moorish perspective now. So you could really see how you should be looking at things and why certain people said certain things and why certain people always come up from as the reference point, but nobody ever talks about the Moorish perspective stuff that these individuals spoke about. Nobody talks about it. Everybody plays like it wasn't said, like they didn't know and that they didn't tell. Or they knew and they told. Yeah, destruction of black civilization, whatever, but Chancellor Williams told that the Moors are the fathers of the black guys. You play around and not tell you Moors. John G. Jackson had his Moorish Empire chapter in his black book. So they told the true ones. True ones told. A lot of them played games with you. That you can't talk about Gandhi without talking about the Moors, the Untouchables. That they had some 50-foot whatever border from the temple. So their whatever doesn't desecrate the temple.
Yeah.
But think about it now. What type of ritual are they doing to stop these people's light? That they have a 50-foot, it was something crazy. It was some crazy number. So imagine you live somewhere and your brother telling you, oh, there's a 50-foot radius electric fence around the house. And he goes on vacation for a month. Your house. That's your brother. And then he got on his European plane and then he went to do his whatever. What was that about? That was about making the Moors black people. Making the Moors of India, of Hindustan, of over there, The Moors of over there, of the Mauryan dynasty, that everybody of that side of the world knows about the Mauryan dynasty. It's not no secret to our people.
Right. Now, that's the reason why they want to take it down. That's this.
Yep.
You know, he's saying, oh, you're trying to get rid of you. He shunned the Moors whose ancient history was here. He was shunning them. That's different. If you're playing the racist game, like I said, that's a game. Because we know race came from inquisitional practices. You know, race don't mean what they make it mean now. That's fraud.
Mm-hmm.
But it don't mean that. You know, race is a Latin term, rasa. It means not pure cloth. It's a messed up shirt. That's what it was referring to a bundled up shirt. Like if somebody's shirt, like if you go in shopping and there's a shirt that's messed up, like the stitching is off. It's rasa. It's not pure. It's not like the rest of the shirts. It's not like the rest of the cloth that's here. It's rasa. It's messed. It's not pure. So they took that and applied it to people for the first way, which was religious reasons. So if you were Christian of the Christian faith, it was rasa. You weren't pure.
Right.
And then 200 years later, French Frederick Blumenbach took race and applied it to phenotype. See, look at that. Look what they did. Now, 2019. Look what's going on.
Everybody's down with not being pure.
Right. Yep.
They want to play race.
Yep.
And again, we get it. You know what I mean? You know, our people need inspiration. And inspiration comes in many ways and forms. Great. What are you doing with the inspiration? It's just inspiration and that's it? Like, you know,
stop clapping.
Stop clapping. Islam to El Stop clapping.
Stop clapping. That's all they want to do is clap.
To know better, you have to do better. And this is really a blow for Black dignity, Black self-respect, striking out throughout the world. Many parts of the world.
Right? No. I thought y'all African. Hold on a second. No. Hold on a second. Because from what I understand, from speaking with people on the continent and that side of the world, they don't play black over there. So now if you're telling me 2008, black's over there now, no, you're looking at serious mental enslavement. Because they're even dumbed down to the level of the Negroes here now, if they're playing black over there. Or is this really a black guy who's not from over there?
Better, you have to do better. And this is really a blow for Black dignity, Black self-respect, striking out throughout the world. Many parts of the world hail Mahatma Gandhi. Why Africa should oppose such a figure? Very good. When we think about it, we have to put it in context in terms of who was Gandhi to us as Black people. And when you are familiar with the history, you come to find that he was actually a sergeant major in the army fighting against the Zulus, in which thousands and thousands of Zulus were killed. And he was also the one who really instituted what we could call institutional apartheid there in South Africa, because he was the one who clamored to make sure that the Indians could have a different office from, a different entrance into the post office and to the telegraph office there in Durban, South Africa. That he was someone who was a virulent racist. He agitated to get guns so that they could shoot all of the Kaffir blacks, but because the British didn't regard him as high enough as the British, even though he said that we're all coming from the same Indo-Aryan stock, they didn't give him guns. And we're happy, because otherwise he would have been as bad as Colonel Dwyer, who shot down so many Indians. The only difference between Gandhi and Dwyer is that Gandhi just didn't get the opportunity and didn't get the weapons. So anytime we look at anything, we should see it from our perspective, an African-centered perspective, as we do at African Studies. So as African people, what did he do for or against African people? And we can look at not only his words, but his deeds in fighting in wars against the black people. When he went back to India, he fought against the Dalits, who are the black untouchables of India. So these are the things that many people are not aware of, but as soon as you become aware of it, you have to do something different. You have to change your behavior.
Some also may have said that this is an academic community and should have known better. But why do you think University of Ghana would in the first place have such a figure erected on campus?
Very good. Now, people did not know better, and people were not consulted in general. So this was something that was done by the higher ups. We won't say any names, but we know who they are. And they decided to just place a statue, because I'm sure that they were under the same impression of most of the world, where if you go to a Martin Luther King memorial, you'll see Gandhi there. If you go to Senegal, you'll see Gandhi. They put these statues, South Africa, they put these statues all over. And it literally depends on ignorance for anyone to accept the statue. Now the people in Malawi heard what we did here, and they have a court injunction where they stopped the statue from being there, because for us as black people, we have to have black dignity, we have to have black self-respect. If you
remember the, let's just go back to the 1900s.
Sorry, Gracie.
Please, more.
Real quick, the brother speaking, because I can't see the video.
Yeah.
Is he from the continent?
That's a question that is up right now.
Because he keeps I've never heard them refer to themselves as black people before.
Never.
And he just ever.
But the brother is Obadele Kambon. Obadele Kambon.
No, that doesn't sound
Obadele Kambon.
like he's from here. And he keeps referring to people as black, knowing that when he goes, wherever he goes home to, they don't call themselves black there.
Yeah. And has to know that. Has to know that.
He knows.
Has to know that. Because there's not even a real African position. Because he was born in Brooklyn, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now it makes sense why they're playing the game.
Right. Right.
Because this is not an African thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you could say black. That's why they can push the black. Everything's good. Everything's good until it's time for what's your status? And then elephant in the room. And our people never want to deal with it. Because they want to keep playing this colonial mindset. They want to keep playing this fraudulent position.
Then they can play, oh, somebody owes you something, like somebody owes you something.
And that gives you the right to, you know, exercise certain things. That's not real liberation. Like, remember, the slave forts are still there. What do you mean that's a historical site of the, what do you mean? The thing that caused your enslavement, you want to keep that around as a memorial of your enslavement. And you want to know why you're still slaves? Are you just hexing yourself? Because again, he didn't keep it light. What shall we call him? So often our various journalists find trouble in selecting the proper name for the Moorish American. Some say Negro, other will brand him raceman. Still another will call him Afro-American. And then come colored, dark American, coon, shine, the brethren, and your folks. It is, remember, this is 1920s, he's talking about Afro-American. Raceman, going back again to the fraud. The brethren. Even shut all that BS down. Dark American. It is indeed a hard matter to find something suitable for the various occasions where a title needs to be used. Is it that these people have no proper name? Did they have a national name when first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century? If so, what was it? Did not the land from which they were forced have a name? It now appears a good idea for those whose duty it is to write for the various journals to find out what the national name of the forefathers of these people was. And then you go right back, 1492, and who are the forefathers of these people before they fell into slavery, where they all have all these different names that they don't know who they are? Raceman, colored, coon, shine, dark American, nigger, Negro. They're everything. But before they were all these fictions, when did they fall? 1492. 1492, we know that's when they fell. Yeah. What was the name of the people who fell in 1492? Well, see, when the ancient Egyptians and then the Hyksos started, and what are you talking about? What are you talking about ancient Egypt? Well, see, the Phoenicians and then our people are really the black Cushites of the ancient. What was the name of the people of 1492 that you know fell? Crickets.
Yeah.
when they know that 800 years of history, they're just going to jump over that, not deal with it? Tell me about some stuff that's not even around anymore? And then claiming that as that's who you are? That's a fiction. Also, look into the history of the founders of civilization and see who they were and where they stood in the building of the present civilization. Which again goes back to George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy, where they murdered him for that book. Because he told these people finally that the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic mystery school, Meru Neter and all that, whatever you want to call it. You want to pretend like you know how to speak Meru Neter now. Okay, fine. All the Meru Neter stuff went to the Moors after the Meru Neter people who were the founders of that fell. The Moors took it. So what you mean you don't know that you're Moors? And again, because of George G.M. James putting it in Stolen Legacy, he didn't play around with the black, Negro, colored, and all the BS. He told you your free national name that you were before slavery. Before this present civilization, there were people. Those people, those founders, looked at all the people that they had dominion over and said, the Moors are the ones. Because we already know that when there were Moors, there were also quote unquote Jews at that time. When there were Moors, there were also Mauryan dynasty. When there were Moors, there were also Moros of the Philippines. We're not just talking about Moors in Grenada only. We're talking about around the world. They said, you know what? These are the only qualified people. Nobody else is worthy to be the custodians of a culture. Remember, the ancient Egyptians were those were the guys back then. After they got it handed down to them, and they were the custodians of the people before them. They now had to make the decision now. We have to hand this down. To the Moors. Praise Allah for George G.M. James. Like, you didn't die in vain.
Yeah.
You didn't get murdered and your book is not being referenced. We know that you died for the cause. We know you died for the Moorish legacy to still be around right now. Put your life on the line for this. Just like Drew Ali told all these Moors. You think you back this? Put your life on this. You think you're Moors. Put you going through the tribulations that you never thought that you would even have to go through. And getting to the end of that, even more of a more than you were when you went in. You were playing. Black never did that. Black was straight loose. Anything goes as the black. You have no order. Probably 2 hours in an up-to-date library would serve to relieve the strain on our men of letters. When the occasion presents itself for a title of these people, the matter of the various names given to these 22 million people with all colors of every race of the globe was an act of European psychology. This is 1920s. The matter of the various names given to these 22 million people with all colors of the race of the globe was an act of European psychology. He's telling you that Europeans made up all that BS. He told you Moorish American. He's an Asiatic, but you're not going to go with what he told you you are. You're going to go with European says, and you're African. And you're descendants of Africans. And you're African whatever. And you're Aboriginal Indigenous this. And you're autochthonous. And you're all these Indians. All different type of Indians. But you don't come from over there where India is. And you're all these brand names. All that is European. All that is European psychology. I thought you were supposed to not be riding with the European. How are you not riding with the European, but you're saying you're Afrocentric or whatever, which is European? They gave him a name, then defined it as something inferior to theirs. White they defined as a color of purity. Black, they say, represents everything evil. The Negro, as they were called in this nation, have no nation to which they might look with pride. Because there's no nation called Negro, black, colored, African, Hebrew Israelite, da, 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 all going down the line, all the stuff that we call ourselves, that's a fraud. Because the last thing we fell as was the Moroccan Empire. And that was because the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic whatever. So if you're going to say we're all Kemetic, why don't you just say that we're all Moors, since the Kemetic guys gave the stuff to the Moors? And we got it now. And then you're saying you're still the stuff that got handed down to us. The hell are you talking about? How, okay, your ancient foremothers and forefathers called ancient Egyptians, Kemetans, whatever, said the Moors are the custodians of the culture now. And then 2019 now, you're telling me that you're the people who gave us the stuff. The hell do you mean? You fell. We have the stuff now. Why don't you just say that you're Moors? Like, why would you still be Kemetic if that fell? And when your ancient foremothers and forefathers fell, they gave the stuff to the Moors. And now you're telling me you're the people before. The ancient Egyptians got the stuff from the Cushites, and then the Cushites are talking about their Cushites. They're now ancient Egyptians, those Cushites. Instead of being a dumbass and saying, oh no, we have no culture, and just sit there like a dummy, you transfer the stuff and you join that. That's why No Jolly said, find some good Moors, help them do more good. You think you're coming empty-handed? You must have something to bring. And only nations do that. Only nations have those type of interactions. Only because national has knowledge of nationality and knows that Brother Yusuf is a national and has a concept of nationality. Would he be allowed to go into that guy's store who's another national and just pick up anything and walk out the store and ain't no questions?
Right.
But the black guy, he's getting dealt with behind the glass, and then he has to put the money in the thing, and then they have to turn the stuff. They go in the store, they're getting followed around all over the place. When you go in the store as a Moor, nobody following you. Because they already know. You have certain standards if you're a national. The Negro, as they were called in this nation, have no nation to which they might look with pride. Their history starts with the close of the Civil War, or more properly, with his being forced to serve someone else. Their history, the Negroes, the black guys, not the Moors, because we have our history, we come from ancient times. We not just came here yesterday because we're conscious. We thought it was a good idea to call ourselves Moors. This stuff been around. So not us, but all the other people who call themselves whatever, their history starts with the close of the Civil War. Or more properly. So forget the Civil War and all the BS. Really what was going down is that he was forced to serve someone else. Because he's claiming the names that was created through European psychology. Our people are saying they're the names that came out of European psychology. Thus, he is separated from the illustrious history of his forefathers, who were the founders of the first civilization of the old world. He's letting us know that this is a succession. That's why they say the Moors is a legacy. $800 years of history of one particular people, forget anybody else. These one people have 800 years of history in real time. Like, we can reference that now. We're not talking about some ancient stuff that you're telling me about. You had to go into the center of the earth to get the papers to show that that's that. We're talking about real time right now. Like Noble Jolly said, a few hours, up to date library. Get a library card for Brother Yusuf Library. Go in there for 2 hours.
It's crazy. I'm telling you. You be here, you walk out of here, like, turning around looking at my domicile, like, what in the world did I just walk out of? Whole time work walking out of here. First you gotta walk through the jungle. Then when you walk through the jungle, then it's the library. Literally, jungle is plants everywhere on the ceiling, vines everywhere, and then you can get to the library. After you read all the 50 plus dictionaries, then you can start reading all the books and stuff like that. Then you can read all the books. Then we can come downstairs to the other library. We can read all those books. We can be here forever. I don't leave the house. I don't leave. I stay right in the library.
Say permanent library card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thus he is separated from the illustrious history of his forefathers, who were the founders of the first civilization of the old world. This matter should be looked into with a hope of correcting it. So don't just say we're gonna pull down statues and all that. What's your name that you're pulling down that statue? And if you're telling me some fiction, tell me some stuff that you made up that doesn't really have, that's not really a free national name. Because certain people, they tell you their name, you know. You're not going to question or guess certain stuff. Right? We know that we're American. They know that we're American.
You say that, oh, my plate is nothing but a rubbish bin, then the whole world will collect rubbish in it. But when you say my plate is a wonderful plate, then people are willing to eat off of it. So when we don't have respect for ourselves, when the rest of the world, you go to Europe and they are throwing bananas at you when you're playing football, when you go to India and they're beating you down, when you're going to the US, the black person does not have a very high level of respect in the world, but it starts from self-respect. If someone who called you 1 degree removed from an animal, you put him on a campus at a black university, an African university, it means that you must not know very much about yourself. But it's not everyone who's in that position. So those of us who knew, who have read, who studied, we are the ones who agitated. Because imagine if you put, again, Colonel Dwyer was this British man who shot down so many of these Indians in a massacre. Imagine if you put him in a university at New Delhi. Imagine if you put him at a university. It means that you, all the scholars, you must not know anything about your history. It would be a slap in the face. And that's how many of us took it, as a slap in the face, that some of us know better and we don't just go along with the propaganda, or what some of us call impropaganda. It's improper propaganda about Gandhi.
A lot of people also say this might mar the relationship between Ghana and India, especially now that the statue of their former leader has been taken away. Don't you think this would cause some kind of skirmishes between the two countries?
You know, actually, I just answered an email from someone in India, Colonel GB Singh, probably the world's foremost scholar on Gandhi. We have been in contact with Arundhati Roy, so many Indians who have been collaborating on this project and really have been part of the force that have helped to publicize it as well. Now, what this means is that you have in India, India is not as united as you may think, that you have castes, right? So you have the Brahmins, you have the Kshatriyas, you have the Vaishyas, you have the Shudras. So all of these are the castes that are part of Hinduism on the simple scale, because even in that you have subgroupings. So Gandhi himself was Banya, which is a subcaste of the Vaishyas. Now, even outside of that, you have the outcasts, you have the Dalits, you have the untouchables, the black untouchables of India. And these are...
Right? So remember, if they're talking about all these subcasts or whatever like that, they're talking about multicultural society. And there's a hierarchy, which again is based in skin tone. The darkest of the dark, they're on the bottom of the bottom. The lightest of the light, they're the ones ruling now. But obviously, the darkest of the dark were the ones that were on top if they're on the bottom now.
Right.
And the darkest of the dark, everybody knows, are Mauryan over there.
Yeah.
The so-called Indians that have the locks down to the floor. They have to put their hair in a bag. They got so much hair. And they're cast out. But anybody wants some juju or whatever, they're going to them. Or you have a bump on your arm, you don't know where it comes. Go check the sadhu. Don't worry. The sadhu blow that smoke in your face, you don't even know what happened to you. Just go check the sadhu. Right, now remember, on their side, there's people who realize that people among their own sold out. We're going to pull down all their statues and all that stuff. We're not giving them any honors. Right? Remember, they connected with him to say, hey, we know what you're talking about. We know these sellouts. We know these individuals who are trying to play around like they're about some liberation. And they're really not for liberation of people. Every nation has them. And every nation deals with theirs, like tearing down statues or whatever. Down with it. Why? Because he's in a certain caste that he's saying these people are playing the race game. And this has nothing to do with race. This has to do with subjugation. This has to do with people being forced to serve somebody else. Only way you're forced to serve somebody else is if you don't know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You choose not to know yourself. So you get what you get. You know? There's before Palestine. They didn't want to be themselves, so certain people took their stuff. And then those people only took those people's stuff because they went somewhere they're not being themselves. And the same stuff that they got, they did to somebody else. Vicious cycle. Once you start playing those games, start getting into those jurisdictions. And remember, we're telling you, everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
This is a black agenda because somebody's racist. This is not an African whatever. Because remember, African is Christian. The Christians, they have no problem with Gandhi. Because they're part of the 501c3 game. They're getting their handouts.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's taking handouts to keep us in subjugation. Have us happy. Happy because they tear down a Gandhi statue, but they would never tear down a slave fort because that's a historical whatever, so that people could know about their slavery, whatever. Yeah? Okay. Okay.
They lined up for the slave museum.
Right? Lining up for the slave museum.
But tear down Gandhi.
European psychology.
Yeah.
Playing ourselves. And again, like I was saying, hey, tear on the damn statue. You know what I mean? Yeah, they wear Moorish whatever, but I don't want to see KKK walking around here or whatever. The hell for? Forget that BS. Take off my stuff. What do you mean you walking around with my stuff on? You know? Not saying have no statue up or anything like that. So why is it that the game is always played with the black? Say, brother's a Moor. He's from Brooklyn. He's not from Africa. He's not an African guy. Whether you use a colonized name or whether you use whatever. He's from Brooklyn. Oh, you come here, tear down some Gandhi stuff. Oh, you tear down some of these KKK statues guys around here. Because remember, people could live somewhere for 10 years, adopt an accent, now you think they're from there. Just stop this, you know, false liberation. Now look at the big picture. Saying, all right, if you're saying, you know, you don't like this people or whatever, you don't like this man, you don't like whoever because they're racist, then you're running with the slave story. The slave forts are racist. A slave fort is racist. If you're going to take people who don't look like you and put them in this fort and use this fort as a way to transport them somewhere else against their will, that's racist. Just like not letting somebody sit down and eat some at some restaurants racist, or not letting somebody use a certain door or have a drink from a certain fountain. Same way that's racist is the same way that having a fort for people to go get shipped from Africa to America, that's racist. But you're gonna keep the slave fort as a monument of how racist these people are, but you won't use the statue like that. Why wouldn't you just use the statue like that? Put big posters around that stuff, putting all the racist stuff that he did. Oh, instead of tear down the statue, you put a big plaque on the statue saying all the racist stuff that he said, since he got so much letters or whatever like that, and expose him as the racist as he is with the statue that they put up there. How about that? Because they're going to leave the slave fort up, which is racist. So, I mean, what the hell? Why tear the statue down? For what?
Are the ones who are downtrodden. So the people of India, there are so many Indian groups, some who have even done videos that are up online supporting us in this, that there are some who have been downtrodden ever since these Indo-Aryans have been crushing them on the basis of they consider themselves to be white, and they know that the indigenous people there are black. And that's part of why when black students like yourself go there to study, they're beaten to death. A man in Congo was beaten to death in broad daylight in India. Why? Because they treat black Africans the same way they treat their indigenous black people there. You understand? And again, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said that Gandhi was the worst enemy of the untouchable people. So I want you to put these things in perspective. So it's not all of India, it's these upper caste Hindus who have been impressing the black people there in India. So we should not get it marred. So if you have upper caste elites here who are connected to those upper caste white Indo-Aryans, we have to start now questioning these elites. What are you doing, you know, in that relationship with them? Because those of us who are on the ground, the people, we're connected to the black people there in India. We have solidarity with the black people there in India.
So finally, is this the end to the hashtag Ghandi must fall movement, especially now that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has taken over the statue of this individual we are talking about?
As I mentioned, in Malawi, they're still fighting. And matter of fact, I got an email from someone from Malawi, Nkotama. He says, we will not relent, you know, congratulations, we will not relent, we will keep the fight. And I said, beautiful, that's all we can expect and all we can hope for. Again, truth has to reign. No matter how popular the lie is, even if a lie takes 1,000 years to go on a journey, in a single day, truth will catch up to it. And that's really what the story of Gandhi is all about. And I'm aware that the government of India has a program through soft power where they're trying to put these statues, they've commissioned this as a government to put these statues of Gandhi all around the world. And we can look at it as their proxy war with China for soft power. If you remember the border dispute that just happened last year, that China is very heavy in Africa, because everyone knows, except for Africans, that whosoever controls Africa controls the world. All of the coltan for your phone to work.
But how do they know to control Africa? Because really, that's South Asia, and they're Asiatic. And these people over there, they're claiming that there's some ancient stuff when, how is some ancient stuff when that's South Asia? It's South America, North America. North Africa is not that little tip of Africa. All that stuff over there is Asia. Asia North, Asia South. They're really take into perspective why the fiction name people always get taken advantage of. These people start saying that they're African. They are African Union and all this type of stuff. And There's nothing called that. They said they're the Asiatic Union. Bet you these people wouldn't try any BS with them. But no, they're going to take the name of the colonizer. The same European psychology Noble Drew Ali talked about.
Yeah.
The same psychology. And then they're mad at the Chinese because they're encroaching on Africa. That's South Asia. Oh my gosh, these people are doing so much stuff in the United States. Yeah, no wonder they're doing so much stuff. You keep calling it United States, which is their jurisdiction. So of course they're going to claim jurisdiction over it. If you're going to call it the stuff that they got to call it in order to have jurisdiction. Why do you think we keep saying this is Morocco? No, you can't say that. Where's the historical facts of the data of the whatever? You didn't ask them for no data that this is U.S. You didn't ask them for no status, see any stuff to say that this is Canada. Just went with it. How come we're saying this is Morocco and you want to check something? Never once questioned these people on, hey, how come you calling that Canada? Conscious and all that stuff where you're going, yeah, we're in Canada, we're in Toronto, we're in all these corporate jurisdictions. Giving these people jurisdiction over you and your people. Because claiming a fraud means that there's no statute of limitations. Anything goes if you're claiming fraud. If you're claiming a fraudulent position, anything goes.
Yeah.
And like we're saying, you want a little more or whatever? Yeah, tear down the statue. Well, this is bigger than that. Way bigger than that. Because this place is 95% Christian, there's serious problems. No wonder China could go in there. Because the place is run by sellouts. Keep the fiction game alive and give foreigners jurisdiction to make claims of authority where they shouldn't have any authority. Because like they keep talking about with the Aboriginal and Indigenous people of here and there, the Aboriginal and Indigenous people are the Moors. Where's the...
Can't say that though.
Say that again, more?
But you can't say that. You can't say that though.
All right.
That ends all the emails, all the going back and forth. Then what are we gonna do? No, we're just Moors. Right. Once you do that, the whole game's over.
We are all Moors. Page 66. The Hieronymite friars referred to the inhabitants of Hispaniola as these Moors. Everybody knows. Don't be fooled like all these people don't know and they're not playing games with you.
Over 100 years, over hundreds of years.
People also got to look at the fact that before the English and the British and the French came, it was the Spanish. They all the same right. people. But at the same time, how come the Spanish ain't call us Africans in their records? Not one time.
That's right. And that's
not one time.
Bro, that's the whole, and that's what I'm telling these dummies. I'm like, yo,
why do the English call us Negroes? Because when the English took over the fucking Caribbean from the Spanish was already calling them Negroes, and the English just jumped right into suit. Started calling them, but I also think that
Negro is a Spanish word.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So I also think that some of the Spanish people work for the English. You know what I'm saying? So they had, you understand, like, so they had the English, they had the Spanish colony. When the English took over it, some of the Spanish people stayed there because you see the difference. And like I said,
and look at Christopher Columbus' boss. Who Christopher Columbus had to answer to? She wasn't Spanish. She wasn't Spanish.
Yeah, Queen Isabella and Ferdinand. That's what I'm trying to say. They wasn't Spanish, but see, it was no issue of race back then because everybody was either like people don't like to hear the description, but everybody was either a Moor or a motherfucking a European or whatever.
Oh, real simple. Real simple. To back that up, hold on.
You want to call it. That's all they was calling anybody who had according to my records. I'm not saying exactly.
And indigo. They were saying Negro, indigo, Moor.
Oh, so everybody knows. But they weren't saying no indigo and all that BS. Because all those are brand names.
Wow.
We're not Negro, black, colored, or any of the brand names. We're Moors. Everyone knows. Everyone's telling, but they're not telling. How come they're telling, but they're not telling? How come they're telling, but they're not telling? Well, I just tell y'all.
That'll take a while.
It'll take over 100 years. Over hundreds of years.
People also got to look at the fact that before the English and the British and the French came, it was the Spanish.
That's right, and that's
not
what,
one time.
Bro, that's the whole, and that's what I'm telling these dummies. I'm like, yo, why do the English call us Negroes? Because when the English took over the fucking Caribbean from the Spanish was already calling them Negroes, and the English just jumped right into suit. Started calling them, but I also think that
Negro is a Spanish word.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So I also think that some of the Spanish people work for the English. You know what I'm saying? So they had, you understand, like, so they had the English, they had the Spanish colony. When the English took over it, some of the Spanish people stayed there because you see the difference. And like I said,
and look at Christopher Columbus' boss. Who Christopher Columbus had to answer to? She wasn't Spanish. She wasn't Spanish.
Yeah, Queen Isabella and Ferdinand. That's what I'm trying to say. They wasn't Spanish, but see, it was no issue of race back then because everybody was either like people don't like to hear the description, but everybody was either a Moor or a motherfucking a European or whatever you want to call it. That's all they was calling anybody who had, according to my records. I'm not.
They know all that. If they know all that, all it was Moors or Europeans, then what do you mean we're indigenous and we're Aboriginal and we're all this stuff?
Right.
And there's people today that call themselves Moors, which is backing up this historical reference point that people keep making but don't want to deal with. That's them. What do you mean that's somebody else? How is that not you? How are we talking about the only people that were in the world during this time were Moors or Europeans, but we're somebody else? We were on the outside looking at that saying, oh, those are Moors over there and those are Europeans over there. Really? I thought these were the only people in the world. The copper-colored natives and the foreigners. Everywhere a foreigner went, copper-colored native was there. And again, all these people know. All we are were Moors. All they were Europeans. But then now today, we're everything except Moors. Before 1492 is the history of the Moors, not some Aboriginal or whatever.
Say exactly.
And indigo. They were anybody. They were saying Negro, indigo, Moor, and that's it.
Oh, Negro, indigo, Moor, and that's it. That's all they were calling our people. These Europeans. They were either calling our people. This is their scholar talking. They're either calling our people indigo, Negro, or Moors. And now they're telling you today that they're everything except Moors.
Who's that talking, Frenchie?
That dude, Autochthonous one, and Dane Calloway.
Oh no! When did that video come? That's an old one.
No, this is March 15th. March 15th.
Oh wow! Oh wow! I didn't know this was going on. So everybody knows, like you said.
Playing games with their people.
Yep.
Have you chasing the carrot? When they know that it was the only thing in the world was Moors or Europeans before 1492.
And that's it.
That's it. In the world. In the world. Only Moors or Europeans. Right.
That's how you know everything was it was just for the views, man.
They're doing everything for the views.
They did all of that just so they can be the guy. Now it's the Moors.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Because these guys, this Moors. I know Danny does. I don't know about Autochthonous one.
Yeah, they definitely know. They definitely know. Yeah, they know what's up. They know what's up.
Oh, they definitely know. Can know? Just playing games.
Yeah.
The English or British were not they was not friends with the Portuguese, the French, and the so-called Spanish. When we know that the word Spain came up in 1495. So prior to that, we talk about this shit had a motherfucking Arabic name to it. The whole fucking, and we think this is what people think. People for some reason think that Moors went into Europe, civilized them, and showed no. Moors
was always there.
They was always there. They brought the Europeans there.
Okay, so they know that the Moors were in Europe before Europeans. Before Europeans started claiming Europe, they know the Moors were there. That was during the time of the Moorish Empire, which Noble Drew Ali told us still exists today. So if they know, and then Moorish Empire extended from over there, over here. So if they know that there was Moors in Europe before Europeans, then that means there was Moors in America before some Aboriginal indigenous people. Because the Moors are the Aboriginal and indigenous people, because this is part of the Moroccan Empire. North, South, Central America, and the adjoining islands. All of that is part of the Moroccan Empire. Remember, these are the 25,000 view guys. That they know the history of the Moors. And we're coming today telling our people that they're Moors. And then people are in denial that we're Moors. Islam more. You have anything to add on?
Yes. Real quick, I just want to read something coming out of the book. It's called The Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids by Peter Tompkins. On page 28, it says, during the century after the conquest, when Spain was virtually sealed off from the rest of the world, one Englishman, Thomas Gage, did manage to visit Mexico as a Dominican friar, a student of the Jesuits and the Dominicans in both France and Spain. He could pass for a Spaniard and was therefore able to do missionary work in Central America between 1627 and 1637. Remember those dates, 1627 and 1637. Gage was most struck in Mexico City by the women, the apparel, the houses, and the streets. That we talking about 1627. Says Gage was most struck in Mexico City by the women, the apparel, the houses, and the streets. He noted that almost half the population of the city sported coaches. Many were exceeded in cost, the best of the court of Madrid and other parts of Christendom. So he's saying, like, okay, he noted that almost half the population of the city sported coaches, many of which exceeded in cost the best of the court of Madrid. So our coaches here was better than what they speak, because we love to talk about Madrid, and they show us the pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, Gage, when he visited here in 1627 through 1637, he said our stuff was better here. And remember, Mexico extended all the way over to, Georgia and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So that's what he's talking about. He's seeing during 1627 through 1637. He continues on. He says, Madrid and other parts of Christendom, for they spared no silver nor gold, nor the best silks for China to enrich them. So we had our own stuff. It says, for they spared no silver nor gold, nor the best silks from China to enrich them. Gage admired the broad streets lined with goldsmiths and silversmiths, and was astounded by the freedom enjoyed by the women to gamble. Day and night is too short for them to in a primaria. Okay. And then he says, Gage found men and women excessive in their apparel. Quote, the attire of the bizarre sort of people, blackamoors and mulattoes, is so light, and their carriage is so enticing that many Spaniards, even of their better sort, who are too prone to veneering, disdain their wives for them. Like, okay, he said, Gage in 1627, 1630 1630, he said he found men and women excessive in their apparel. He says, quote, the attire of these bizarre sort of people of blackamoors. Right there, boom.
Learn that again.
It says, Gage, now this is Gage. He's coming over here to Mexico in 1627 to 1637. He talks about the streets too, enriched with goldsmiths and silversmiths. And he's talking about the attire of these bizarre sort of people of blackamoors. It says, and mulattoes is so light, like our clothes were so light that many the attire of the bizarre sort of people of blackamoors and mulattoes is so light, and their carriage is so enticing that many Spaniards, even of the better sort, disdain their wives for them. Nothing that their bare, black, and tawny breasts are covered with bobs hanging from the chains of pearls. It's 1627 through 1637. He's speaking of Moors, the goldsmiths and silversmiths, and ladies walking around with pearls hanging around from their neck. We're slaves now. We're going through slavery right now.
Yeah.
I don't see no goldsmiths and no silversmiths.
I see fiat smiths. I see fiat smiths holding fiat to their ears like they make that BS.
This 1627 through 1637 is supposed to be slavery.
Yeah.
Why is there blackamoors linked up with goldsmiths and silversmiths? How do they do that? Houses. He's talking about they had houses, wasn't living in no jungle in the woods or nothing. They had houses and stuff like that. Broad streets lined with goldsmith and silversmith.
Islam more. On to Islam to all the Moors. Two things before we close out. The Grand Elder Mfundishi is going to be out here for a lecture and a community development conference. Now keep in mind, he went on the record and said that he's Moor and all that, and he knows that we're Moors. So let's see what these people get. African Community Development Conference, February 7th, 2019, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Northwood Community Center, 15 Clubhouse Court. And if you go to African Community Development Conference on eventbrite.ca, eventbrite, BRITE.ca, you'll get all more information on that. So that's Sunday, April 7th, 1 to 8, Northwood Community Center, 15 Clubhouse Court. Eventbrite.ca, African Community Development Conference. And Peace and love to Sister Oshaleni that's putting this on, or one of the people putting this on. Good sister. And she's, like Noble Drew Ali taught us, she's our sister from the East that's trying to help these people over here wake up to what they should be woke up to. You know what I mean? So she's in touch with the Moors and we're building. So honors to sis and her family. And don't forget, it's Tuesday night. MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 319-527-6751. 319-527-6751. 425-569-5201. 425-569-5201. That's MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. Blog Talk Radio. Peace and love to all the Moors worldwide. Islam, Brother Yusuf. Give thanks to you, Moor. Give thanks.
Give thanks, man. Give thanks to you and your platform. Give thanks to the Prophet. Give thanks to the Moors in the chat. Islam.
Islam. And for all the Moors in Canaanland, don't forget this Sunday, we're going to be having our spring equinox build. We're going to have our catering, our 5 principles catering, and we're just going to have a keep our Moors happy, so the Prophet's happy. Chill out, build, whatever session. Same time, 12 p.m. We'll see the Moors at the temple on Sunday. And, you know, just keep doing what we're doing. Islam to all the Moors out there. And don't forget, if you have any dues, donations, the PayPal is mstofa.dofornation7, the number 7, at gmail.com. mstofa.dofornation7 at gmail.com. And we might try something tonight. I don't know, see how this thing goes. But don't forget, Moors, keep supporting what's true. Keep supporting what's real. Make sure that we're always giving honors to the Prophet and for what he left us. Because without what he brought, we'll be in serious trouble. We'd be in serious trouble if we didn't have what Drew Ali left us. It wouldn't be as amazing as we're looking at it. You know. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot that Moors could do. Keep doing it, Moors. Stay true to the cause. Islam.
Watch FEMA camps and dog bounty hunters and wise. Watch out for the agents and paid on spies. Never revealing the truth and concealing the lies. On surveillance blocks like Barry blocks, I'm diverting those eyes. I love nature. Told don't look to the skies. Look down, but I look up and see flying pies. That's just a slice of distortion. The cloud third eyes won't be bumping into dead ends on this main score line. More with more pride than a bunch of lions. In the ear plugs in when colonists blast sirens. I'm X giants. We're the giants. Before New York. In 88, Fleming and Park was mine, New York. And Mr. John's science class found out worms in pork. Around 92 is when I gave up the pork. Didn't eat lunch that day, the pepperoni slice had me sick to my stomach. Liquid would have to suffice. It wasn't a cap gun. First time I heard shots and saw sparks. 95 beat up by Undies, all day followed by Knots in a blue Toyota. I'm sure it was a Corolla. That day is when I gave up Sega Genesis controllers. Started to grow my hair. Gave up the fade. I didn't kill the artist sisters. I'm not Adrian Kincaid. Even though in college that became a nickname, I wasn't going to use some demon to gain quick fame. Turning a hermit after I met Hench, I had to unlearn it and relearn everything I lost during the Holocaust. In 99, started my locks and beard. Pretty boy died. Then Kincaid was convicted of murder. I almost cried. Gave up the box link to Jesus, Diamond Halo, pending the ring. Opened my third eye, became a wise king. Life has a way of teaching if you're willing to see. Everything you think is might not appear to be. Life has a way of teaching if you're willing to see. Everything you think is might not appear to be. So just be and be receptive to what life brings. Our struggles are meant to raise queens and wise kings. Life has a way of teaching if you're willing to see. Everything you think is might not appear to be. So just be and be receptive to what life brings. Our struggles are meant to raise queens and wise kings. Can't rep Scarborough since the amalgamation. Where you see city of is a corporation for real. Jane and Finch is an intersection, not a hood or a block or a community where a youth got shot, but back to the borough. Sean Rose Guard, a park with cut grass, running for councilmen, hip-hop engineers and ras. Not given to get or live in regret. Pissy elevator, shroud, light starts and sunsets. Got youths in the bubble vest, fake leather uptowns. Big shades and hats, skinny jeans showing butt clowns. Yeah, I said it, and what now? You're gonna buck rounds, disarm and butt clowns after I rush clowns. Everybody's a potential agent, I was once even. Friends stabbed up from Flemo beefing with region. Ancestors protected me, driving from clubs weaving. Not to wrap my car around the pole, leave my mom's grieving. Repping colors and blocks and gang sounds we dying for. And innocent bystanders the sons you're crying for. When sons wearing that big hat and they call fitted and charged. I too done it, say the borough did it. Tell them 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 the borough did it. The corporation of the city of Scarborough only own blue street signs with Toronto. In conspiracy, all fact, no theory. I see them tobogganing down Iroquois burial mounds. No more block repping if it's not a Mexo. Northwest Latin, longitude lines, no colors I'm repping. And when I'm repping, it's every color in the spectrum. If you want beef, Mother Nature is my weapon. This storm is not X-Men, but I'm Morocco Meccan. Big nose and big lips in the face section. What they repping is fashion from Gaylord Taylors. Thanking fake Christ for awards and they rain in paper. And using mind control, got the soul mental rapers. When you rep a block, become a gold scaper. Can't rep blocks nowadays, these codes of the streets. Got youths going to jail for gun clapping on peeps. Playing a role, or lay in a hole, or do some dead time. Government cops want your cough for paying debt time. Make sure you rep the right block as a whole. See your son acting like a Lil Wayne rapper clone. Got you scratching your head wondering what this is. Who made your offspring scapegoats by calling them kids? Corporations own jails and put in the biggest pays. Human resources has been big businesses. Tell them the borough did it. 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 Yeah.